All right. Well, first off, namaste. I hope you're experiencing the most blessed life. The part that is desired by Source for us, predicated on a very specific statement, which would do well to investigate further, and that has to do with the condition of the soul. And so we're going to pick back up where we were last week. We're going to have a little different theme this week. It's have a couple people that are sick, and so we're going to do about an hour and a half, however that works itself out, teaching, and then we'll take a break, and then I'll come back and just do a little stuff, hopefully sow some good seeds to help you, give you something that you can take and use if you would choose to. I don't say that everyone chooses to, but if you choose to. And so we left off in the Nag Hammadi, where we're reading the origin of the world. It's really funny as this thing goes on. Sources has really been very kind in seeding me and encouraging me to continue, that this has much value. And so, of course, those situations are always amazingly beneficial, and I don't know about for you, but for me, they make me go away and life is all beautiful and wonderful, because I know that I'm part of the consciousness. And so The chapter we left off, if you have one of these books, if you don't, you really, you really should benefit yourself. The level of information spiritually that's been exposed in here, probably at best most would be lucky if they've gotten 1% of the truth, and yet it's quite amazing at how much truth it is. It also, for me, with many other things I've shared with y'all, the letter that's now been found of Jesus, it does for me. What it does is it cements really how deep the lie of Christianity is. They're investigating the past political regime, if you would, and it's all kinds of corruption is coming out. And if we weren't under the spell of Christianity, we would have explored, and many of the things I've shared with you, you would have found on your own. They're really obvious, but you have to get out from under the force, the power, the negativity, all of those things. And so we left off at phoenixes, water serpents, and the bulls of Egypt. Many of you, were the kind in my church that talked about pagans, as I did also. So you talked about all kinds of things, and in reality, you knew nothing about any of them. And so all of that narrative is all just a bunch of bunk. None of it's true. And yet you felt fully justified, and you went away on Sun Worship Day and felt like you were someone in the cosmos, and in reality, you were just an ignorant person being ignorant. And so it is, I've said it in the past a lot, and I'm going to say it again, Maria and all of the other ascended people that I value anyways in my world, in my reality, all of those people are saying the same words, and they've been saying the same words for literally tens of thousands of years. And yet it doesn't seem like very many people are really listening. And so when Sophia Zoe saw that the archons of darkness cursed her friends who were like her, she was angry. I don't know if y'all remember all that we looked at that had to do with Adam and how that whole picture, and what's really crazy is there's pieces of it that sound very much like what you were taught in the Genesis, and yet they're really just little one-liners out of a very long conversation. And I love how Christians love to do that. They take things, sources been reminding me that I am the head and not the tail, and I am not under anybody. And it's funny that keeps coming to me from the spirit realm, because I know that there are people who would desire to do that. And so, what you're starting to see happen, it's happening through channelings, the quantity of channelings and how that stuff works, and the information that's coming out. And the problem is that some of it, is probably not really from the spirit realm. It's coming out of someone's mind. And so how do you know, and how do you discern? And my God, you get into 1,000 different questions. And of course, there is no other answer than you either know or you don't. And so if your knowing is wrong, then the whole thing is corrupt. And so you have to be really careful about intuition versus your mind's subconscious thinking. It's cursed a lot of people. And so we see here through all of this stuff with Adam that there was a lot of stuff that went on that looks like, but really it wasn't the fullness what we were taught, and now the fullness is coming out. And maybe it sounds strange to you that the archons, just so you know, there are people that are still channeling the archons even today. They're still functioning in the spirit realm, and they're never left. They're never going to leave. They're always going to be influencing when they can, typically in a malevolent method, the humans on this earth, because the truth still remains. They know what you are and you don't, and as long as they can keep it like that, you will never do anything except exist. And that's where we are. And so when Sophia Zoe, wisdom, saw that the archons of darkness cursed her friends who were like her, she was angry. She came from the first heaven with all of her power, and she chased the rulers from their heavens, and she cast them down into the sinful world so that they might dwell there as evil demons upon the earth. And I've heard questions asked, so are there demons that are not human? And the answer unequivocally is absolutely. There are demonic powers, and as we get through some of these other things, my journey will continue into the teachings of Solomon, because the teachings of Solomon are just like these writings that I'm sharing with you about knowledge, which is what I'm desiring to put in front of people. Is this is knowledge that you know nothing about. Choose it or don't. I really can't help you. You have to do this yourself. And if you're not interested, it's not important. You pick a book up and you read it for 5 minutes, and then that's the end of it. Well, then you'll never progress anywhere. And that, once again, that's, you created that reality. And so there, we're getting a basis of knowledge. Maria was about telling the world, Helena was about telling the world what they did not know. And so there's many facets to that. Solomon's was one facet, which is telling the world what they do not know about the spirit powers that we actually have the ability to control, and yet we have no knowledge, so they control us. And so they're functioning every day in your life, I promise you. And so she came from the first heaven with all of her power and chased the rulers from their heavens, and she cast them down into the sinful world so that they might dwell there as evil demons upon the earth. So when you watch a television show and it's about a paranormal thing and there's a demon that manifests, you now, at least if nothing else, have the ability to be able to totally understand what's going on in this situation. She sent a bird that was in paradise so that until the end of the age, it might spend 1,000 years in the ruler's world. The bird, a living creature endowed with soul, is called the phoenix. And just so that you know, here's another one of those pieces. People have a picture according to what knowledge that they possess, and people see the phoenix and have no concept or consciousness at all about what it even is. It's a bird rising. Some know that it's the rising of the phoenix. There's actually a really huge spiritual significance to this bird that rises. And yet you find it in every culture that exists in some shape, form, or fashion. It's in the American Indians who are ancient mystics. You see it in Egypt, who are ancient mystics. You see it everywhere that humans exist, because knowledge and truth has always existed. It only gets covered up by people with malevolent intent towards you. And that's exactly what Christianity is. And so the bird, a living creature endowed with soul. So here's one of the first things for you guys, because there is much more to say here. Edgar Cayce talked about cats in the spirit realm and dogs in the spirit realm. There are people who have been blessed to have a really, really super deep connection that transcends the physical realm with an animal. And there's a reason for that, because they also can possess souls. And you see that in the phoenix, quite contrary to what we were taught in Christianity. And this bird with a soul is called the phoenix, and it kills itself and revives itself as an image of the judgment against the rulers. So do you know what that word that I just said, what that word actually says? The phoenix is a symbol of reincarnation. because they dealt unjustly with Adam and his generation until the end of the age. There are three human beings and their descendants in the world until the end of the age: the spiritual human being, the psychical human being, and I will say typically there's some overlap in these, but there doesn't necessarily have to be an overlap, at least as prominent as many might think, between these two, between the spirit and the psychical. And then there is the earthly. And it'll be that way in this world until the end of the age. You have encountered them. Just so that you understand that I'm putting profound truth in front of you. Paul talks about you encountering a spirit human being. He said, be very careful about how you act and how you treat people, because you may very well be talking to a spirit being. We have light workers on this earth who are not human according to your standard. They exist, they're functioning, they're working right now. Just as there are non-human, non-soul human beings that are functioning and working right now. And so the circumstance is like the three kinds of phoenixes of paradise. So here's a metaphor. The first is immortal. The spirit, if you'll get what I'm trying to show you, this book is going to prove to you that all that I've been teaching is absolutely correct. Okay, the first is immortal. Let's go back up here to what the first is. What did they tell you of the three? What did they tell you the first was? They told you that the first was spiritual. Then you put these two together, and what you find out is the spiritual is immortal. Are you going to live in the body you live in forever? Absolutely not. Are you going to live forever without your body? Absolutely. And so the spiritual is immortal. The second lives 1,000 years, and the third is consumed according to what is written in the holy book. Now, we just have the words holy book. Many of you, and if you were a Christian trying to read Nag Hammadi, you would immediately have said, see, all of this is part of the Bible, and nothing could be more incorrect. Okay? The holy book is not the Bible. It did not exist when this was written. The holy book that is being spoken of is a text that probably doesn't even exist anymore, and it was an ancient text that existed a long time before there was ever any Christianity. If you can allow yourself the freedom and the privilege to understand, Christianity is very new, and it is all an agenda to suppress truth. Just the way it is. And so this circumstance is like the three kinds of phoenixes of paradise. The first is immortal. The second lives 1,000 years. So the psychical lives 1,000 years. And that, I would say that even number is metaphoric. And the third is consumed, which is your physical body. So they just told you in that one little situation, and if any of you had read it, you probably wouldn't have seen what they were actually saying to you, possibly. But that's what they just told you, that the spirit is immortal already. It's not going to be, it already is. And so the third is consumed according to what is written in the holy book. Likewise, there are three baptisms. The first is a spiritual baptism. Has nothing to do with water, has nothing to do with Christianity, has nothing to do with anything, and you don't need anyone to do this. It's actually part of your journey. You will bury yourself in the spiritual realm, or you won't. It's that simple. People who don't want to hear things that are truth, that other people are just drawn in by, That's just a choice of whether they are going to allow the baptism in their life. And instead, most people try to find the pseudo thing that's being taught by a lot of spiritualists, that this is an enlightenment, and you go seeking after all of these things and they have zero value to you. They only deal with your carnal mind and mentally ascension. Mental ascension is not ascending. The fact that you can convince yourself that you're spiritual doesn't make you spiritual. And that's what most are trying to do. Well, I saw signs, or I saw this, or I saw that, and that makes me spiritual somehow. I understand that all of us have an empty place, and we all are craving what we are missing. And what we are missing, dear friend, is the understanding of who we truly are. That is the hole that all humanity feels. But those things will never fill it. That's why people spend billions of dollars trying to get the next person to tell them that they're spiritual. And I just refuse to be a part of that game. It's nothing, it's the same exact thing Christianity does. It's just another form of fear. And so, the first baptism is spiritual. The second baptism is by fire. So I want to get you to grab a hold. If you are, in fact, actually beginning to see what you also will begin to see, I know this is true because I have been for a long time, which means I've been on my journey to awaken for 30 plus years with no knowledge of it. But what you will find is once you begin to move into the spirit realm, you should immediately be prepared for everything in your life to go to hell. People will leave you. All of the things that everybody craves about in the Bible, that it's all good and God gives me all of this free stuff and all of the stuff that's being played on, and all of those things have no understanding about what it cost to achieve, if you would, or arrive at the place that you might call truly enlightened. And so, and then sow the water and search it. I'm sorry. The first is spiritual, the second is by fire, and the third is by water. So see, that which religion teaches is the highest level, is the base level. As the image of the phoenix appears with reference to the angels, so the water serpents in Egypt indicate those who go down for the baptism of a true human being. I think it's quite funny that it's the water serpents that baptize people into true spirituality. This thing that they've done with snakes and serpents and stuff is so ludicrous, it's not even funny. If they could take something and twist it any more than Genesis, I don't know what the heck it would be. And so, as the image of the phoenix appears with reference to the angels, so the water serpents in Egypt indicate those who go down for the baptism of the true human being. Well, the first baptism is the spirit baptism. So if you want to know when you see true human being in here, it still ain't got a dang thing to do with your physical body. Because a human being is not a physical body. A human being, a true, perfect human being, is a spirit. And so that if you've heard these words and they've kind of confused you, it's just simply because you lack understanding. But the perfect human is your spirit. And so the two bulls in Egypt indicate a mystery, the sun and the moon, which represents Sabaoth. You remember Sabaoth, learning that he was the son who couldn't stand the evil of his dad, Zebaoth. And so here we go again. And because Sophia of the world has been exalted above the sun and the moon from the time when she created them and sealed her heaven until the end of the age. The worm that is born from the phoenix also represents humanity. So when somebody calls you a worm, you should agree with them. You are a worm, physically. It is written of it, the just will sprout like a phoenix. Isn't that quite amazing? You've heard that the just will live by faith, and I hate to tell you this, but that is another corrupted teaching that Christianity gave a false meaning to. And so if you can get out of 2,000 years of corruption and begin to open your eyes and allow it to change your perspective about words and reality, you will begin to see that you have been like a blind bull being led by your nose through your whole life. The problem is, and the question is are you going to do anything about it? The thing that is coming. It's funny to me that now I'm listening to channelers that are Christian channelers who are talking about the 3 days of darkness that are coming on the earth. They're talking about the two suns. They're talking about the splitting of the earth's frequency. And they wrap it up in Christian dialogue, but that's just because of their ignorance. They don't know any better. They only know the Christian words. But is God speaking through Christians? Absolutely. He always has. Because there are spirit people who are still hung in the matrix of Christianity. True spirit people. So just because you leave Christianity does not mean that you're some spiritual something. It simply means that maybe you've accepted or chosen to open your eyes more so than your fellows who desire to stay asleep. And so the worm that is born from the phoenix also represents humanity. It is written of it that the just will sprout like a phoenix. So what does that mean? A phoenix kills themselves, goes down, go through the cycle, and comes back in and once again rises up. And so the phoenix first appears alive and then dies. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? That's a life cycle you've been programmed your whole life. And then in their programming, then you get to stand in judgment in front of God so he can kill you, because every one of you know that you were never good enough according to the scriptures to ever receive salvation. Never. Every one of you daily broke the Torah. Whether it was words or thoughts or deeds, it made no difference. It's so funny to me, after having been away from that, I see the complexity. It really makes me sad, because all of the people that are in that think that somehow they're saved, they're absolutely ignorant of what is coming for them. Do not think that there is not a reaction to your actions, and that there isn't a crop according to your seeds. All of those principles still function every day. And so the worm that is born is representative of humanity. It is written of it that the just will sprout like a phoenix. The phoenix first appears alive and then dies and then rises again. And that is the cycle of reincarnation that we have been and will continue to be in. The phoenix first appears alive, then dies and rises again as an image of what appears at the end of the age. So all of that picture is really a teaching, is a metaphor. We have been in one of the most amazing evolutions humanity has since the very beginning, over 250,000 years ago. Okay? And every time you come in, the concept is, no matter how great or how small, and depending on who you are as a spirit and what you came in for, will determine at what level these things happen. But the whole school of humanity has been about, every time you come back in an evolved state from the one that you left in. So every one of these horrible life structures that you live in each incarnation, me running from the Union shoulder and being shot in my face with a gun, that was part of my school during the Civil War. I needed to feel what that felt like. I needed to look in that soldier's eyes and see the hate that existed in him for somebody who was from his own country. And it's not any different than the guy who just shot Charlie Kirk in the neck. That was all part of the thing. It may be difficult for you to understand that all the horrible crap you've been running from your whole life were all lessons you were supposed to learn. And yet, what do? Usually, we just continue doing and propagating the same things. Yeah, this is not about staying like you are. And if that's what your belief is, that you can become spiritual and stay like you are, I feel sorry for you. So, these great images have appeared only in Egypt, not in the other lands, indicating that Egypt is like God's paradise. Let us return to the rulers of whom we spoke. The world is in error and ignorance. Very important. Let us return to the rulers of whom we spoke, so that we may offer an explanation of them. When the 7 rulers were cast from their heavens down to the earth, they created for themselves angels, numerous and demonic, to serve them. These angels taught people much about error and magic and potions and idolatry and bloodshed and altars and temples and sacrifices. Every one of those things were not from the spirit realm, per se, the benevolent spirit realm. Every one of those things, and if you'll notice, about half of what I've already read is exactly the very things religion does. So all they're doing is playing out the role. The Matrix is running. The movie is running. And it goes over and over again. Just come to the altar and lay your sins down and give a spiritual sacrifice, and God will heal you. And so their altars and their temples and their sacrifices and their libations to all the demons of the earth, whether you know it or not. First off, nobody in Christianity has ever prayed to God, the creator, source, all. The mass majority, without knowledge of it, have been praying to this other god named El. And so the angels work with fate, which came into being by agreement of the gods of injustice and justice. So when the world came into being, it went about in error and confusion all the time. That's why you hear that it was nothing but mass chaos down here. Well, it's not much different now, is it? All the people on the earth served the demons from the creation until the end of the age. Both the angels of justice and the people of injustice. Thus, the world was in confusion, ignorance, and stupor. All erred until the appearance of the true human. And so you might ask yourself, well, to what end does all of this matter? Because if you would do that for a very simple second and then take a big breath and begin to open your mind, you would find the essence of the purpose of Yeshua, and it totally destroys everything that you've ever known. He did not do anything but come to this earth to show you that you were a spirit being inside of a physical body. That is all he came here for. He didn't come to save you. In fact, in early writings, they were very adamant that we do not worship Yeshua as a deity. He was a human. The body says that. When are you going to quit letting people lie to you and tell you that something means something that it doesn't? He said, I had to come and experience everything as a human. What am I reading to you? That you have come here. What is reincarnation? So you can experience the feelings, emotions, struggles, pains, hurts, all of those things are part of that. And they happen every incarnation. And most of you will go, huh? And so all people on the earth served the demons from the creation until the end of the age, both the angels of justice and the people of injustice. Thus the world was in confusion, ignorance, and stupor. All erred until the appearance of the true human. Now, after the appearance of the true human, most still erred. But there was an opportunity for them to find reality. Enough on this. I love these guys. They give you just enough to make your mind prick, and if your mind doesn't bite it, it really is like fishing. They throw a worm in front of you, and if you don't bite it, you don't care, and they move on. And I expect I will watch that actually get more and more and more. And so enough on this. Next we shall consider our world so that we may present an accurate description of its structure and administration. Then it will be clear how the proof of hidden things which have been apparent from the foundation of the world to the end of the age came about. And then you see this when you go in and you read Paul's writings. Paul's writings say that if you cannot see what the universe has done, even uses the term universe, it's your own fault. It's because you don't want to. You want to continue the matrix that you have created, your mirror. It keeps showing how you are inside, what you are inside. See, you don't have to question. People who are blind inside are blind outside. People who are self-centered inside are self-centered in the way that they behave to other people. And that goes on and on and on and on and on. It never changes. It is a picture. Your life is a picture of who you are inside. And so the epilogue. The blessed little innocent spirits and the church. I love the rhetoric. Now I come to the main points about immortal humanity. I shall discuss all of the beings belonging to immortal humanity and explain how they got here. When a multitude of people had come into being through Adam, who was formed from matter, and the world was filled, the rulers reigned over it. That is, they kept it in ignorance. So how did they rule humanity? By ignorance. If they keep you ignorant, you stay asleep, you yawn, you do whatever is fun, and you never give a logical thought process to anything other than what you can stick in your gut or stick in your billfold. What is the reason? It is this. The immortal Father knows that deficiency of truth came to be amongst the eons and their world. So when he wanted to bring down the rulers of perdition by means of their modeled creatures, he sent the blessed little innocent spirits who are like you. Down to the world of perdition, they are not strangers to knowledge. All knowledge is in one angel who appears to them. This angel stands before the Father and is not capable of giving them knowledge. Why do you think that might be? Some people think that I'm very harsh, but friends, if you don't understand, and if it doesn't reflect in your life, and of course that's your mirror, if you don't understand that this of which is going on and is being spoken is the only important thing that exists in your life, then you just are one of those people who have no understanding. It doesn't mean it has to stay that way. It means you have to do something to become different. And so they kept them in ignorance. What is the reason? I think that's a valuable question. That why did Christianity concoct all of this lie and make up a Jesus who did all these things so they could make everybody, because they wanted you to not know who you truly are. It was all done to keep you ignorant. And then it's funny to me when truth comes and people go, oh, well, I'm going to believe in Christianity. And my words to that is I love you and good luck. So what is the reason? To keep you in ignorance. So when he wanted to bring down the rulers of perdition by means of their modeled creatures, he sent the blessed little innocent spirits who are like you. So what did he just tell you? He jumped from physical to spiritual realm in one sentence. Down to the world of perdition, they are not strangers to knowledge. All knowledge is in one angel who appears to them. This angel stands before the Father and is not capable of giving them knowledge. Not capable. This is an angelic beast who stands in front of the Father and still does not have the power to give you knowledge. It's very significant. Whenever they appear in the world of perdition, the blessed spirits immediately reveal the pattern of incorruptibility so as to condemn the rulers and their powers. When the blessed spirits appeared in the model bodies of the authorities were jealous of them. Out of envy, the authority mixed their semen with them in order to defile them. But they were not able. When the blessed spirits appeared in an enlightened form, they appeared in different ways. Very, very, very interesting. They came from different realms and they revealed their knowledge to the church that appeared in the model bodies of perdition. The church was found to have all kinds of seed because of the seed of the authorities mixed with it. What does the scriptures tell us that seed is? Seed is the things you do and the things you say. You have all kinds of abilities to be whichever seed you choose to be. You don't have to be a bad seed. But if you do nothing about it, you will be. And so, out of envy, the authorities mixed their semen with them in order to defile them. Don't be deprived in your mind a bit, friends. None of this was done for your highest benevolent outcome. It was all done to keep you ignorant. Christianity was done to keep you ignorant. And so when the blessed spirits appeared in an enlightened form, they appeared in different ways. They came from different realms, and they revealed their knowledge to the church that appeared in the model bodies of perdition. The church was found to have all kinds of seed because of the seed of the authorities mixed with it. Then the Savior made all of them one. In case you haven't heard it, or maybe you have heard it, that there is now very much knowledge coming about that we see ourselves as individuals, and it is not so. We are all part of the collective consciousness. The concepts that are ancient of the collective soul are still real, relevant, and functioning right now. You are consciousness. You're just ignorant of what you are. And so, the Savior made all of them one. How did he do that? He did that by exposing that we are all light. The spirits of these people proved to be superior, being blessed by varying in election. So what was it that was blessed? All of those words you see in Christianity about blessed, your mind has no ability to do anything typically but see that as material wealth or gain. And that is not blessing. Has nothing to do with spiritual blessing. If you're not blessed when you don't have two pennies to rub together, you will be doubly cursed when you have a pocket full or a bank account full. So, as I said earlier, why am I so passionate? Because it's the same message I've been teaching all the way through Christianity. I just did not know that I possessed knowledge in me that did not come from my knowing. And so there are many others who are kingless and superior to everyone before them. And I want you to kind of swish that around, because he jumps in there and he says these people are now kingless. What does Christianity teach you? That you now have a king. It's part of keeping you in ignorance. Yahusha never taught that, and neither did any of the Gnostics or the psychologists or the metaphysicists or the alchemists. None of those ever taught that you needed a king to rule you, because they all knew that we're all part of the consciousness, which is everything. It's not something that you're doing. All you need to do is open your eyes and begin to take responsibility for what it means to be part of consciousness. And if that's not enough to change you, close your eyes and go back to sleep. You're not going to be happy. You can go off into the dense world when the world splits and live there, and you'll be absolutely happy with it. But for others of us, that ain't going to work. And so there are many others who are kingless. You know why I don't need a king? Because I'm already the head. This has been really beautiful. It just opened my mind and allowed an amazing, wonderful resurgence of truth to fill that void of all of those lies that are leaving me. Why would God tell us that we're the head and not the tail if we're not the head but we're the tail? Isn't he a liar? And what does it mean then to be the head? So there are 4 generations. 3 generations belong to the kings of the 8th heaven, and the 4th generation, which is the most exalted, is kingless and perfect. Do you know who that is? That is the evolution state in which the split is going to cause. That's why all of the words that are being saying are telling you that this is a new humanoid consciousness that is in the process of being created this very minute. They will be kingless and they will be perfect. You could say it as they're going to be high frequency, extremely conscious beings. These people will enter the holy place of their Father, and they will reside in rest and eternal, ineffable glory. That's what it's all about. Now, if you'll take a stance and think about this, that really is the provision that Christianity robbed from metaphysical teachings and sold it to people. Here's the problem. They took out everything that had any substance to help you get to that point. Why? Because they fundamentally want to keep you in ignorance. And so look what happens to these people who do awaken and recognize that they are consciousness. First off, it'll ruin your life because you start looking at everything and things that you used to not have a thought about now become very irritating to you. And they will reside in rest and eternal, ineffable glory and ceaseless joy. So the promise that you find in Christianity is actually pretty dang close to the promise. It's how you get there is where the ignorance gets brought in. And so they are already kings. Sounds very similar to you will be the head and not the tail. So you see, in many places with the Bible that's taught, there is no argument. You just got to get all of the corrupt shit out of, pardon my language, but you got to get it out of the way. And it's hard. It hurts. You go, my God, I've been believing this for 55 years, and all of a sudden I found out these people been lying to me. Anybody who can make that shift easy, man, I love that, but it ain't easy for me. I take a knife every day and I cut myself so as much as that stuff that'll bleed out will bleed out. And it's only through desiring to rid yourself of it that you can fill yourself with the truth. One does keep you from the other. So the ability of you to be able to release the lie is what opens the space for you to be able to carry then the truth. Go ask Bashar. His message isn't the same as mine, but I assure you he won't disagree. They are the immortal within the mortal. So who are these kings? The light. And they will condemn the gods of chaos and their powers. Wow, if that's not good news, I don't know what is. Jesus the Word. The Word who is above all was sent for one reason only. He didn't come to save you. He didn't come to pick you up when you're falling down and you're hurting, and he didn't come to carry you. In fact, if you choose to fall down and stay down, he chooses to let you. So all of that is also a bunch of bunk. The Word, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was made God. Isn't that what John said? Or is it closer to, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word made itself flesh? That's what John said. The Word did not become flesh. And he said, there is nothing hiding that is not apparent. And if you will take this and kindly love yourself so much that you will begin to ask this simple question, it will actually propel you like a rocket ship. And here's the thing that you should be putting in your mind on a daily basis. Listen. Every time that Source brings something to your memory and you start struggling with it because of the past, if you will open your eyes instead of questioning, you will begin to see that it was always there. So what is changing? I've heard this from a lot of people. I certainly recognize it functioning in my life. The only thing that's changing right now is perception. When you hear those people tell you that there are multiple dimensions all functioning at the same time, and you had 25 different timelines of your life. I thought the other day of 5 timelines I could have went on my life through living my life, and how those timelines would have changed every facet about my life. Every one of them would have been me, but it was which one I chose. And so there is nothing hidden that is not apparent. So here, dear one, is the power for you. You only can't see it because you refuse to. You can't see the perspective and it change you, even though in reality it is there, because you haven't dealt with your shadow, which is your mirror. So when you look in the mirror, all you see is you. You can't see what's apparent. It exists everywhere around you. You can't see it because of no perspective change. So the only way that you can change what you see is by changing your perspective about seeing. Thank you, Father. That was beautiful. And what has not been known will be known. There's no failing in this. You can't see what needs to be seen because you choose not to. It's that simple. There is no one to blame it on. It's just you making a choice about what you choose to see. And that will continue on as long as you allow it to. The minute that you begin to take on different perspectives, maybe you hear something and it doesn't resonate with you. And you say, well, I'm not so sure that that's the truth. Okay. You just killed everything. Better that you might say, well, if that's the truth, I will see it. You see the difference between those two simple statements, but one will stop you from having a perspective shift, and the other one at least leaves the door open for you to begin to see a different perspective. And I promise you, my journey has been, Source has no problems in showing you different perspectives. He's not scared that you're going to go to hell because the Bible is the only truth. And so, these people were sent to reveal what is hidden. Understand that. The people that are existing on this earth right now that are sharing truth were sent here. There are light workers. There are star seeds that are working. There are channelers who are working. Why are they working? They're working so they give you things to help you change your perspective so that you also. So it is the universe telling you, if you could get it, it's telling you how much it loves you. But if you continue, then you just will never understand that in the manner in which you could. And once again, I hate to say it, but that's a choice. And so there is nothing hidden that is not apparent. So don't tell me that you can't see it. You don't see it because you don't want to see it. That's the real deal. And what has not been known will be known. When? When I change my perspective and look at the situation and nothing looks the same, although all the same actions are going on. It still won't look the same. I look at people's behaviors now and I have a totally different picture than I had 2 months ago. That quick. These people were sent to reveal what is hidden and expose the seven authorities of chaos and their godlessness. And so they were condemned to death. Charlie Kirk was a light worker, friend. He came and he exposed to people what exists, and they hated him for it. Don't think that walking this path is all going to be love and happiness and kindness. These light workers, in fact, were condemned to death. So when you're struggling, if you're struggling with why someone would shoot Charlie Kirk, they shot Charlie Kirk to shut him up because he's right in what he's saying. And when all of those who are perfect appeared in the modeled bodies of the rulers and revealed matchless truth, they put to shame all the wisdom of the gods. How many of you could for a second could take this reality and accept it? That you are over everything. You're not individual. I promise you in the heavenlies, you're not going to be there individual. Nobody will know who you are, and nobody would care who you are, even if they knew. Because we're all the same consciousness. You're still living in a metaphoric hologram of what reality is. And so, their fate was condemnation. Their power was dried up. And that's what you're seeing right now. You are seeing, as we increase in evolution, you're watching these mindless people, and they're getting more aggressive, and they're meaner, and they hate more, and all of this stuff. And that's actually exposing who and what they are, and what powers are driving them. And so they expose the seven authorities of chaos and their godlessness. And so they were condemned to death. When all of those who were perfect appeared in the modeled bodies of the rulers and revealed matchless truth, they put to shame all the wisdom of the gods. Their fate was condemnation. Their power was dried up. Their dominion was dissolved, and their forethought was empty. So when you hear me say words about somebody being mindless, it's not because I desire to be offensive. It's because it's the truth. And so, as was their glory. So I could say to you then, the end of their glory days is coming very quickly. Maybe some of you have recognized why these people are in such chaos and they can't figure out. And all of a sudden on the other side, there are humans who going, hey, if this has been being done to us, I don't like this. And I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. So what I would say to you is it's everywhere. What is happening in the cosmos? As inside, so outside. That works individually as a human. That works collectively as a country. That works collectively as an ideology. And what is inside of you is what is going to manifest in the world. One side is saying, peace. We're going to stop all the wars in the world because we shouldn't be killing each other. If you don't get what I just said, I feel sorry for you. And so the end of the age, before the end of the age, this whole region will shake with loud thunder. The archons will lament because of their fear of death. The angels will grieve for their human beings. The demons will weep over their times and seasons, and their people will mourn and cry on account of their death. How many of you remember in 2016 the pictures of people when the election was over with and these people lost their effing minds? It was everywhere. Folks, I can't give it to you any easier than that. What is going on? If you don't understand the significance of this country to the hope of the world, then I'm sorrowful. You should go spend some time reading, and you should learn what these prophecies over thousands of years have talked about. I have no problems understanding it, but I can't give you my understanding. You must get your own. I'm only here to tell you that you need it. And so then the age will come, and they will be disturbed. Their kings will be drunk from the flaming sword and will wage war against each other, so that the earth will be drunken from the blood that is poured out. The seas will be troubled by war, the sun will darken, and the moon will lose its light. The stars of the sky will abandon their circuits, and loud thunder will roar from a great power. And so hold that thought right there. Loud thunder will roar from a great power. That is not just we're going to have a rainstorm, so there's thunder. The stars of the sky will abandon their circuits, and loud thunder will roar from a great power, above all the powers of chaos, where the firmament of the female is located. She had produced the first creation, and now she will put away her wise fire of afterthought and put on irrational wrath. Can you not see it? It's obvious as can be. And if you don't, then maybe you should begin looking for who you are. Because I promise you, the true you knows every word I'm saying. And some of you may disagree in your mind, and yet something inside of your body says what he's saying is true, and I know it. So, Pistis Sophia, wisdom, will drive out the gods of chaos, whom she had created along with the chief creator, and she will cast them down to the abyss. Sounds very similar to language. Now, as we go along here, you're going to find out that everything about the book of Revelation is nothing but a mystic writer. It's all metaphor, and none of it means what they told you that the book of Revelation was about. This existed before the book of Revelation, friends. And so, they will be wiped out through their own injustice. Why can't they get their feet and fix their political party? Because they are in the process of destroying themselves. They will be like mountains blazing with fire, and they will consume one another until they are destroyed by their chief creator. So who is it that's going to end up destroying? When he destroys them, he will turn on himself and attack himself until he is no more. The heavens of the God of chaos will collapse upon one another, and their powers will be consumed. Their realms will also be overthrown, and the chief creator's heaven will fall and split in half. I would tell you that if you took the temple out of the picture, I believe there is a metaphoric tie between that statement which preceded it and the veil in the temple ripping. You hear people talking about the veil thinning right now. We have a metaphor picture in the Bible that the Kabbalists, who were really the people who wrote a lot of the Bible, they weren't believers in Jesus, they were mystics. All of the ancient Hebrews were mystics. And their realms will also be overthrown, and the chief creator's heaven will fall and split in half. His stars in their sphere will fall down to the earth, and the earth will not be able to endure them. They will fall down to the abyss, and the abyss will be overthrown. Now you can take that and see the correlations with, my mind is sitting here and I'm bouncing scriptures off the whole time I'm reading. And so light overcomes darkness. The light will overcome the darkness and banish it. Actually, the splitting of the earth will banish them. They will be like something that never was. Those that move and that raise their frequency and their vibration, there will come a time in our future, very near future, when we will no longer see any of those vibration people. They will not be in our perception anymore. You will not see them. I don't care if they were your mama, daddy, wife, best friend, or somebody you hated. They will no longer be in the dimension of the high frequency that have evolved. They will cease to be to you. And so something that never was and the source of darkness will be dissolved. Deficiency will be pulled out by its root and cast down into the darkness, and the light will withdraw up to its root. Now you understand in the Hebrew why there was so much talk by Yahusha and the significance of him talking about the root. The glory of the unbegotten will appear and fill all the eternal realms when the prophets and the writings of rulers are revealed and fulfilled by those who are called perfect. Those who have not become perfect in the unbegotten Father will receive glory in their realms and the kingdoms of the immortals, but they will never enter into the kingless reign. So when I say that there is a dispersing, it doesn't say, and I believe Marianne was right when she took the book of Revelation and said, but we see that there are these who are inside of this place who are the blessed of God. And then we see all of these people over and over in the Bible. Maybe some of you have asked the same question. Well, who are these other people? You just got the interpretation, and actually it wasn't the interpretation. It's actually what they wrote those out of is the knowledge that existed here. This is a picture of what's coming. When Dolores Cannon says that the earth is splitting and low frequency people will be taken away, never to be seen again, it's absolutely correct. And so, the glory of the unbegotten will appear and fill all the eternal realms when the prophets and the writings of rulers are revealed and fulfilled by those who are called perfect. Those who have not become perfect in the unbegotten Father. Isn't it so funny? You spent your whole life hearing about Jesus being the begotten of God. And it's actually those who are not begotten of God will receive glory in their realms and the kingdoms of the immortals, but they will never enter the kingless realm. There will be no kingship. Why? I can give you the answer right now. Because whether you can consciously, whether your mind can deal with it, or whether I overwhelmed you 55 minutes ago, all of us are the same consciousness. We are already one. That's why Yeshua says you need to love your neighbor as yourself, because you are your neighbor. Duh! Would it have been any better if he had said you need to love your neighbor because you are your neighbor? See, all that we're doing here is we're playing out different experiences for the collective consciousness. That's all. Every pain you've ever gone through is for the collective consciousness to see a different facet. Why? Because your pain that you went through is totally different than the pain I went through. And just so you know, collective consciousness is one of the most beautiful states that exists, because it's always hungry for truth. And so you go through your life and you think this is something really important. In reality, it's just a blip on the target of consciousness, because there's 7 billion people that are doing the exact same thing that are all connected right now. You're just a facet on a great diamond. That's all. This has no more significance than you to learn what you need to learn while you're here this time. That's all. That's the only purpose for living as a human. And so all must return to the place where they came from. All. So when Edgar Casey says inevitably everyone is going to get there, maybe there's a reason why he said that. But if you can even deal with that, if you even have any knowledge of that, if you haven't until now, then I promise you can't deal with it. But if you have had knowledge of that and you've been in your mind trying to figure out how does that work? Because see, we see things through an earthly mind, so we see things like Hitler, and we never stop to think that Hitler had multiple timelines that he could choose from. If he had ascended and he was of a higher frequency, he would have chose a different timeline in everything that happened in this world. But the universe wanted to know what happens when this happens to humans. And it will radically begin to change everything. How many of you would be willing, and I know it's true, I'm not trying to learn this, What if you begin to recognize that everybody who's done something bad to you, that you should thank them? For some of you, you can't even find enough forgiveness inside of you to do that. And I promise you, you will never ascend frequency-wise. You will be with those that go in the other realm. If you can't forgive, the highest calling any humanity has ever had is forgiveness. And so just like the guy that shot Charlie Kirk, there's twofold. We think Charlie Kirk because he came and he spoke the truth. He came and he exposed truth. And we also should be thankful because we would never know what it felt like for Charlie Kirk to be dead and the pain that people are acting really moronic about all over the place, instead of being thankful that that guy fulfilled his role to do that, because nobody on this earth can do that except for him. That was part of his incarnation. Did that just blow you away? If you don't understand it, it's okay, but I'm not wrong. And it will begin to allow you to heal and forgive and release all the things of the past. Because you cannot ever, go read Edgar Casey's prophecy about the end of time. Go read Dolores Cannon's. Both of them used very similar words and said, if you cannot learn truly how to forgive, which is exactly what Yahusha came and told us, if you cannot learn how to forgive, you will not be in this shift that happens. Unforgiveness is going to destroy, because that unforgiveness is rotted in you, and you will never be able to get past it until you begin the shadow work of embracing and dealing with who you are. If you look at yourself every day and you recognize that you have a problem with unforgiveness, and then you embrace that, okay, I have a problem with unforgiveness, now let's move on and quit being unforgiveness, you will radically watch your life immediately begin to change. It's part, actually, if you want to know the truth, it's part of the ascension process. And the most powerful and the highest step in that process is forgiveness. Serving people first, loving everyone, and forgiveness. And so all must return to the place where they came from. But what they do and what they know, all of them will reveal their natures. Maybe that old Pastor Turner guy over there, maybe he ain't so far-fetched now. Can I tell you the words that they're just as pure as they come? Next week we'll look at exegesis on the soul. Should we explore the soul? What does it mean, collective soul? What does it mean? What if you find out, friend, that all of the nonsense that's been perpetrated on women is nothing but total corruptness? It's very, very clear, but it doesn't diminish the corruptedness of what women have imposed on themselves. Remember, it's all a mirror. Whatever they're experiencing is what they are inside. Whatever you're experiencing is what you are inside. You created it. In fact, yesterday you were sitting around and you had thoughts and you had words and you had behaviors. Most of them you were unconscious about, and yet the whole time the universe is going, well, they believe they have lack. Well, they believe that this isn't going to go well for them. Well, they believe that this, and well, they believe that this, and well, they believe, and that's exactly what the universe gave you, is what you truly believed. That's why you're where you are. And that's true for all of us, because some of us have nothing to, I don't have two pennies to rub together, but I have to tell you, I'm as prosperous and abundant as any human that's ever walked the face of this earth because of what he's done in me. And that's all I desire to share with people. I don't even care about the rest. If you're still hung up on all that other crap, good luck. But it's very quickly diminishing like a vapor out of my life. I now understand that I am peace, and I am love, and I am light because I am the I am. And if you truly begin to believe that inside of you, you'll be blown away by how many things you can be resilient about and overcome. So it's a good journey. It's worthwhile. It's blessing. It's love. It's honor. It's peace. It's all of those things. And it is at the right time, because there's not much of that left. And it will be exposed what you are, as you just read. So we're going to take about 10 minutes and then come back, and we'll be together just a few minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll be done for today. Hope you guys have been blessed. Absolutely. I feel just all over the presence of Source is very, very electric in me. And so I hope that you feel that too. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Namaste. All right. Well, namaste to each and every one of you. We're gonna pick up where we left off. It's really a beautiful lesson. It really ties to massively what we've kind of been hearing and seeing. It's funny. Last night I heard a channeler talking about the archons, and I know that he doesn't know what I'm teaching, but it's quite strange that Source would send that in my realm to confirm. So we're looking at the morning and midnight out of the book that I shared with you guys about the As a Man Thinketh. You know, it's so wonderful to me how much of the pieces of the Bible, and I recognize that it's kind of hard if you believe that all of this is truth, and now to find out that a lot of it really is not truth. I think the first knee-jerk reaction that we usually have is to get rid of it. And sometimes we need to do that because we need a different perspective. And then when we go back and we read, we may be able to see truth versus the stuff that's not. And I know for my purpose, that's certainly been the case. There are things, and I go, that's not the truth, but that piece right there is. And so it's an ongoing, constant journey that we must walk every day, always being mindful and functioning in forethought. And there is no time for you to cut your mind off. If you cut your mind off, you give it for someone else to control. And I promise you, there are many both spiritual and physical forces that love that. You would be amazed at how many spirit forces function in churches tomorrow. And so we were at the page, the sixth morning and the sixth evening. And so I hope that you'll just breathe and eat a gummy, drink a cup of coffee, whatever. I know I'm going to have mine. And just allow yourself to take in. These things can be tied with a form of guided meditation if you control your mind properly. So the sixth morning, absolutely phenomenal. In the pure heart, there is no room left where personal judgments and hatreds can find lodgment. Ponder that. In pure hearts, there is no room left because they filled their pure heart up with the things that are right and good and benevolent. For personal judgments, that's a huge one for us to get over. We're so judgmental as, I think all humans, but certainly as Americans, we're very judgmental. We're very many things, quite honestly, most of which aren't really all that positive, to be honest with you. And so there is no room left where personal judgments and hatreds can find lodgment. What does that mean, and how does that look? Well, actually, in every fabric of our lives, because actually, the life as a normal American, whether you're an atheist or a Christian, is really irrelevant. But we all have these biases that we have been programmed with since the beginning of our birth. Whatever things our parents didn't like, we were told that those things were not supposed to be liked. And this enlightening thing, the raising of the frequencies in America, has been going on way, way, way before the 60s. All of the stuff that went on with the Jesus movement, the hippies, they were condemned, they were called horrible things, and to be quite honest with you, I believe they were a 10th wave, to be quite honest with. We had a massive spiritual thing that went on in America at the turn of the century. Then we had another one that went on in the 30s. Then we had another one that went on in the 50s. Then we moved into the 60s and the hippie Jesus movement. And then from there, it just was an increasing and a progression, even though we didn't know it. Why? Because we didn't have the right perspective. But if you'll stop and turn around and look back at the message that the Jesus movement and the hippies, what were they about? They were about peace, love. That is the message of consciousness. And so there is no room left where personal judgments and hatreds can find lodgment, for it is filled to overflowing with tenderness and love. A statement that Maria Blavatsky made that I think that would help anybody who desires to be helped. And this is what she said. She listens to what people say, and if what people are saying isn't about love, then it's not from God. And so I have found on 1,000 different levels that is true. Now, being honest with yourself that you're still unraveling the you doesn't change those things immediately, but it brings them back into your face where you have to deal with them over and over again. And if you are desirous for the truth, you will recognize it, and then you will say, this is a real problem I have. Maybe you were born and brought up as a racist. Racists can cease to be racist. Black people are just as racist as Mexican people are racist, as white people are racist, as Chinese people are racist. In fact, racism doesn't have a dang thing to do with the race that you are. It has to do with the spiritual state that you are. Because when you begin to enlighten, you will love everybody, and it won't make you a difference what color they are. And so these things, as I just read to you earlier, are to expose what is and what is not. And that's what's happening. They are exposing their self. And so it sees no evil. And only as men succeed in seeing no evil in others will they become free from sin. So in other words, the sin you're seeing in someone else is typically the sin that's in you. And sorrow and suffering. And some of you might have one of those and not the other attributes. Maybe your problem isn't, you just naturally, it's not so much that you sin, although you are and you're just not conscious of it. But maybe you have a real sorrow problem. Maybe you have a real unforgiveness problem. Maybe you have a real suffering problem. You do understand that there are people who create a life of suffering and it was their doing. There are people who you've known who everyone always walks on this person. And unfortunately, the truth is. But then there are those people who always walk on people like that. And that is their creation. And so, it really is all about us. So if men only understood that the heart that sins must sorrow. And we live in such a time where there is no consciousness, but it doesn't mean that people that you have to deal with who seemingly have no conscience, it doesn't mean that they're not creating for themselves sorrow. They are. That's how karma works. And they keep doing these things and hurting other people, and because of that, they keep getting hurt, and yet they can't figure out why. And it's because that's how you're treating other people. So that's why it keeps happening to you, because you refuse to stop. You're out of balance. That the heart that sins must sorrow, that the hateful mind tomorrow reaps its barren harvest. Everyone is reaping. There is no opportunity for you not to reap. The only opportunity as humans that we have is to change the crop that we're reaching. That's all. And so you have to understand. And that gets into the minute thoughts that go on 1,000,000 times a day in your life. Every one of those are a seed for what you will receive tomorrow. If you're inconsiderate of other people, I guarantee you tomorrow someone's going to be inconsiderate to you. And so if you don't like what you're experiencing, you have to change it. So that the heart that sins must sorrow, that the hateful mind tomorrow reaps its barren harvest, weeping, starving, resting not, nor sleeping. Tenderness would fill their being, they would see with pity's seeing, if they only understood. And that, friend, is life in a nutshell. Wow. Wow. Sixth evening. To stand face to face with truth, to arrive after innumerable wanderings and pains at wisdom and bliss, not to be finally defeated and cast out, but to ultimately triumph over what? Every inward foe. Why? Because you have created what you've lived. You created that in other people, and you got it as the reflection of you. There is no way to hide from that. There is no way to run. You can sit there and you can tell yourself that's BS and I ain't gonna put up with it. And I guarantee you, all you've done is proven that it's true. Such is man's divine destiny. Not to be finally defeated and cast out, but to ultimately triumph over every inward foe. The enemy is not on the outside. The enemy is on the inside. When I tell you you must do shadow work is looking at yourself and going, you're a liar, and I either now can make a decision as to whether I'm going to continue to be a liar or I can quit lying. To look at yourself honestly and go, you know you're an effing thief, but I'm not going to be a thief anymore. And immediately you begin to break those things off, and who you are as a person fundamentally changes. But it only changes according to your belief. The universe gives you what you believe. And that's not always good, because sometimes we don't think we believe those things of ourselves, but they are our functioning modus operandi inside of ourselves. And so, such is man's divine destiny. Such is glorious goal for those people who will take up the burden. And this, every saint, sage, and savior has declared. It's the same words I said to you. You are part of the collective, but it's up to you to find out what that means. A man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revile and commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates not everybody's life, dear one, but your life. See, there's no fixing other people. And as he adapts his mind to that regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition. So what? They begin to accept responsibility. I don't like the way my life is, and I'm going to change it because I am a co-creator with consciousness. That would be the greatest statement you could ever make about yourself. And so, a man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and revile. I wanted to say there, all of this nonsense that we're seeing in our world, if you would really give yourself a chance to see that that's really what they're doing. And as long as they do that, they actually are functioning at a base level that is more animalistic than it is humanist. When we cease to whine and hate, revile, which is to hate. So you have to quit whining about your situation because you created it, change it. You have to quit reviling, you have to quit hating things because it's not what you want. This is one of the hardest things I've watched, is to watch people now and watch how they want to dominate and micromanage everybody's life. And it's one of the most destructive things that can ever happen. Because you have no power to do anything with their life in the first place, except cause detriment, which you're doing to yourself. It's crazy. As he said, if you could see it. And commences to search for the hidden justice which regulates your life. Being able to recognize that I caused this with my thoughts. I don't fully understand how I did, but I know that I did, and because of that, I'm going to begin to search. Only the people, here's a principle that is so metaphysical, but it's right there in the Bible, that whatever thing that you search for is what you'll find. If you search for mindlessness, you'll be a mindless person. You will find whatever you're looking for. Well, I just want quiet and bliss, and I just want free things, and all of those things, they're all the things you're creating for yourself. And that it's also tied to how you treat other people. And as he adapts his mind to that regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition. So I'm not your problem. You're your problem. And builds himself up in strong and noble, now we're back to what it's all about, thoughts. The all is mind. Everything that I'm talking about and will continue to talk about, every bit of it is created from your mind. Didn't have a thing to do. Your physical might have worked out what was created, but the creation process is in your mind. You already had created it before it manifested. You created it today. If you are one that's prone to, I hurt all the time and I'm always going to hurt, you always will hurt. If you say that I'm sick all the time and I'm always sick, I guarantee you tomorrow you wake up, you'll have a new form of sickness. It is constant and ongoing. If you say that I'm broke all the time, I guarantee you, you'll be broke. And many of you, if that didn't click the light on for you, I don't know what will. It's really a hard factor for us to really take full responsibility for everything that's going on with us, is because of us. That's very difficult. And there's not a lot of humans, to be honest with you, that will ever do it. Many will say, yeah, okay. And they go on and they forget and they're mindless and they continue to live like that. And that's going to be where the separation happens. Because it's only those who will seek that will find. You will never find your higher self just walking along day to day. You will only find your higher self when you choose to look for your higher self. That's why people don't want to meditate, because they don't want to sit and be quiet and look at themselves because of what they might see. although salvation comes from seeing it. And so even if they sit in quiet, they sit in mindless quietness. And as he adapts his mind, so we have to renew our mind. Oh, I'm sorry, that's in the Bible. To that regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others as the cause of his condition, because the others didn't cause the condition, he did. And builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts. So we get the insight then. If you want to change this, how do you change this? You change this by changing your thoughts. Ceases to kick against circumstances. There's no circumstances that aren't for a purpose, if we would honestly ask ourselves. And I've been on this journey for a while now, doing many of these things all day long. It has nothing to do with the circumstances. The only thing that's important is, what do? I am. I have the power to change everything. But begins to use them as aids to his more rapid progress. And I fully believe that that statement right there is one of the most profound gifts that can be given to a human. It is being said, I've said it, and I've said it in the past, 35 years ago, standing in a Christian church, that there is going to come a day when things that used to take somebody 10 years to accomplish, they're going to accomplish in 10 days. That's already happening. But it ain't about all the stuff I thought it was then. Why? Because my perspective has changed. And now it doesn't have anything to do with anything except you inside. And so they cease to kick against circumstances. Instead, they take on the act of gratefulness, and they're thankful that they have more bills than they have money. Because that teaches them how to do right. It teaches them how to have to go through something so that they can learn how to be stronger and make better decisions. And I mean, man, it blossoms into a spider's web of our life when you begin to walk on this. So, how do we fix it? By building ourselves in strong and noble thoughts. That's why when you hear me say words of mindlessness are weak, base, unnoble thoughts. Ceases to kick against circumstances. In fact, learns to have gratitude for the people who do bad against him. Thank you. I needed that today. But begins to use them as aids to his more rapid progress. I love that. And as a means of discovering the hidden powers and possibilities within himself. And friends, that's all I've been talking about for the last 2 hours, is the hidden powers that exist within you. Now, as I've said, not certainly in no way desirous to shame or hurt or guilt or any other negative word. Just simply to expose to you that there's truth. It's up to you to do it. Nobody else can, and if you're okay staying like you are, and then you'll stay there. And your subconscious is really good about telling you lies. So, you're good. You're justified because you said you're justified. But your higher self doesn't buy that crap. Your higher self knows. That was a really fundamental thing, that inside of me, the true Rob Turner knows right and wrong at a level that most of you wouldn't even dare to consider. And sometimes that's been my problem, is because it bleeds through more than I realized. And so higher self says that's wrong. And then we do what? We justify ourselves and we go on anyways. Then we reap a harvest, and then we don't like that. And so what do? We, once again, don't listen to higher self, and we create some more havoc for our lives. I counseled lots of people, guys. I counseled literally hundreds of people, thousands of times, and I haven't ever seen what I'm telling you be wrong, ever. I just didn't know it. I wished I did 35 years ago in Austin, Texas, because I would have changed everything. instead of feeling sorrowful for people, empowered them when they did right. So, it's a hard saying that you did this to yourself. That's a hard saying for all of us. It's not easy. None of this journey is easy. That's why very few people are doing it. But those that do, the reward is immense. And so, blessings to you. I hope you receive. I'll leave today with a Bible quote. I would above all things that you prosper and be in good health, but only according to your soul's prosperity. It's the nutshell of enlightenment. Shalom to each and every one of you. I hope you have an amazing week. I hope your eyes begin to open and your perspective begins to change. If you do, it will radically alter the way you view the world. Namaste.